Television coverage magnifies immeasurably the deterrent effect of a drug raid. A TV helicopter swoops in to help police rescue a hostage. A newspaper reporter and photographer help rescue a kidnap victim. Clearly, sometimes the police officer and the newsman end up helping each other, simply by each doing his job as it is supposed to be done. But then there is the law enforcement official who emphatically refuses to comment. The news story about allegations of police corruption. The stories about internal strife in a police department. All stories that have to be done, stories that demonstrate that there are times when the interests of the press and some in law enforcement diverge. That's to be expected. Journalists are not here to be your public relations boosters. But after close to a decade covering crime both as a newspaper reporter and currently as a reporter for WSB-TV, I submit it is the exception when the legitimate interests of the press and the law clash. Now, that should not be surprising, since in a sense, for both of us, the public is the customer, truth the target. I would like to talk about the dealings you may have with the media at the 1988 Democratic Convention in three key areas: access, information, and law enforcement as the news story. We'll start off with access. Those of you handling security for the convention will likely encounter reporters and photographers who need or want access to areas where you are working. Now, we realize that you will have orders and regulations to guide you to some extent, but you will also have a good deal of discretion. Please remember a few things. Journalists are certainly allowed any place any other member of the public is, and with a very few limited exceptions, such as federal courts, cameras are generally allowed any place the journalist is. Now, there may be persons who do not wish to be photographed and appeal to police officers for help. In most cases, it is not the police officer's place to intervene in those situations. Both professions, police and press, have those within it who are adept at, shall we say, being pains in the neck. And that can be exaggerated when stress levels are high, as they sometimes are on both sides. Understanding that in advance and making an extra effort toward courtesy might head off unpleasantness. Now to number two, information. When a reporter is on deadline and runs into you at a crime scene and you tell him to call public affairs, well, it's not a good feeling. Nor is second-hand information as good usually as that from somebody on the scene. Nor is it usually necessary to deflect routine questions. If you're uncomfortable going on camera, for instance, simply providing an incident report number or providing a glimpse of the report if you have it can be extremely helpful. Such reports are generally public record. Now let me explain a few basic terms often used between a reporter and the people he gets information from. Number one, off the record. Now that means information is for background only. It is not to be quoted in any fashion, even from an anonymous source, unless the reporter gets it from someone else who is willing to go on the record. Number two, not for attribution. It means the information can be broadcast or printed, but not with identifying the source. When you hear sources say this, or federal sources say that, or Channel 2 News has learned, it is often the result of a not-for-attribution agreement. I would caution you to make sure that each individual reporter you deal with understands the conditions you attach to the information you pass on under such terms. Unless there is agreement beforehand, many reporters consider anything you say to be fair game. Now let me make one more comment about information. In television, immediacy is often crucial, particularly in the pictures we need. You may be in the position of enhancing or impeding our ability to get where something is happening. In the long run, I suggest it is in the interest of law enforcement to work with us. That brings us to the third area I want to discuss, when law enforcement becomes the story. That very well could happen at the Democratic Convention. Like it or not, the internal strife that has marked the Atlanta Police Bureau in recent months is likely to focus the attention of at least the local media on the police presence at the convention. And right or wrong, past events, some a decade old, might very well focus the attention of national and international news organizations on how you do your jobs while the Democrats are in town. Good reporters will not just want the facts, figures, and statistics, but the human side of your story, what you are going through, how you feel about what is going on. And that's to your advantage, if you handle it right. I've seen many law enforcement officers give a no comment when the cameras come around, and I've seen many come off the worse for it, too. There are those who, correctly or not, see that as having something to hide. On the other hand, I have seen people faced with a potentially damaging story who turn things around by being candid on camera. They made the best of things, and that applies to the entire matter of press and police at the convention. You're going to be there, we're going to be there, it's inescapable.